Good morning and welcome to Dr. Lamba Explains Sikhism Sunday Special. Sikhism has a prayer, a community prayer, a communal prayer, which is unique to this religion. The beginning of any ceremony, any event, any mission, any business starts with Ardas, seeking the blessing of the God to initiate the process. And at the end of any mission, an achievement of any objective, as a thankfulness, Ardas is indulged into. This concept of Ardas is something unique in Sikhism. It is both personal and it's communal. Every individual does it, but as a whole, it's also undertaken. And yet, paradoxically, it's not a part of scriptures. It doesn't form part of either Guru Granth or of Dasam Guru, though the beginning of the Ardas is taken from Dasam Granth. Pratham Bhagavati Simbarke. First worship Durga, sword, power. And then think of Guru Nanak and all the 10 Gurus. Now, what constitutes Ardas? What does it mean? Ardas is essentially a cry of human soul. The cry of the soul seeking direction, seeking blessing is Ardas. And then the gratitude, expression of gratitude on achievement is Ardas. The word Ardas by itself is derived from a Persian word, Arazas Dasht, meaning a request, a supplication, a prayer, a petition, or an address to a superior authority. And it's a Sikh prayer, as I said, done before performing or after undertaking any task. As a matter of fact, it's also indulged in after all the performances of the scripture reading have been done, like Path, Kirtan program, or any other religious program, is succeeded, followed by Ardas. As a matter of fact, in Sikhism, many people also indulge in offering Ardas before and after taking prayers. It's like take grace in Christianity. But grace is done only before taking the meal, not after taking the meal. This is done even after taking the meal. It's a plea to God to support and help the devotee with whatever he or she is about to undertake or has done. And the formal Ardas we are familiar with today was standardized under Singh Sabha Lahar. The movement started for Gurdwara reforms, and for the first time it rolled out in 1925. Till 1925, this was not formalized form of prayer. And then the further insertions regarding Nankana Sahib, the Gurdwaras left in Pakistan, were introduced after 1947. So again you see the difference between Ardas and the scriptures. Scriptures are inviolable. You cannot alter a single syllable. You cannot alter a question mark. You cannot alter anything. But Ardas has been altered continuously, upgraded, modified, added to, continuously right from the beginning. And if the need is there, they'll still keep on doing it because is not a part of the scriptures. Historically, the main structure of Ardas is believed to have been originally compiled by Mani Singh Shaheed. Mani Singh was a Sikh who was killed, tortured under Aurangzeb's orders, and then there have been numerous insertions over the years. Urdu is much more common than any other form of scripture. As I said, it was not written entirely by Gurus. You cannot find it in the pages of the scriptures because of its changing devotional text that is evolved, has evolved, and will continue to evolve over a passage of time, because it encompasses the feats, the accomplishments of the Sikhs. And taking the various derivations of the word Ardas into account, the basic purpose of this appeal is to Vaheguru, protection, care, and at the end, the beauty is at the end, the supplication is Sarbat ka bhala, welfare of all, prosperity of all mankind. There's nothing sectarian about it. It is most Catholic, most all-pervasive, and all-covering. Now, Ardas consists of 3 parts. The first part recites the virtues of the 10 Gurus, from Guru Nanak, Guru Gobind Singh. And the first line is, as I said, from Dasam Granth, more precisely from Chandi Diwar by Guru Gobind Singh. The second part of the Ardas recites the trials, the triumphs of the Khalsa and what is asked for. It is a blessing to start a business, or it's gratitude to enter business. And the third part salutes the divine God, the authority. The common belief is that the folded hand postures are always indulged, and they are derived from a very ancient practice symbolizing submission. Here I like to point out, Ardas is essentially here an adaptation from Islam. Like the namaz is led by the Qazi, the Maulvi, the Mullah, or anybody else. Similarly, prayer, Ardas, is led by a person called Ardasiya. He can be anybody. He can be an ordained priest, he can be nobody, he can be layman. As a matter of fact, in Sikhism, there is no concept of ordained priest, which we'll take up another day. So anybody can lead it, others just say Vaheguru whenever he says. And the Ardas is punctuated by recitation of Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru. As a matter of fact, the symbol of folded hand posture, as I said, is a very ancient practice symbolizing submission. The historians trace the gestures back to the act of shackling prayer's hands with wine and rope. The prisoners used to be tied down with wine, rope, their hands were joined. And in ancient times, the captured soldier could avoid immediate death by joining his hands together. Just like now, waving a white flag. The message is clear, I surrender. So this posture itself is a very, very important part of our task. Centuries later, subjects demonstrated their loyalty and paid homage to the rulers by joining their hands. In times, clasping their hands together communicated both acknowledgement of God's authority and one's submission to that authority. In Sikhism, it denotes our humble belief in the greatness and the ultimate authority of God. Now, why should the indulgence be there in Ardas? A. It is to seek the blessing of the Almighty. B. It is a form of, at times, a communal protest. A submission and a protest, a petition. Now, there is a very interesting story about it. About the power of Ardas. A Sikh built a gun and brought it to Guru Gobind Singh and said, "Sir, this is the best gun which I have made." He was a gun maker. And it can penetrate the hardest surface. And Gobind Singh said, Guru said, "Okay, let me test it. I'll test it on you. You stand in front of me, and I'll fire at you if it can penetrate. And you cover yourself with an armor. And if it doesn't penetrate the armor, then I'll accept the gun." Now, what the Sikh did? He requested the Sangat, the congregation, to pray with him to save his life. Guru Gobind Singh raised the rifle, and he saw that the rifle, while pointing at the heart of that gunmaker, was also pointing at the heart of the whole congregation, men, women, children. The Guru put the gun down, smiled, accepted the gun, and he said, "Look here, you have demonstrated the power of petition by the Sangat, and Sangat is supreme." Now, this Ardas, in fact, is a tangible expression of the old ways of saying, "Vox populi, vox Dei." The voice of the people is the voice of God. So even while petitioning, the Sangat, the combined prayer, is asserting its authority, its power, which is mighty and supersedes any other secular authority. This sort of Ardas, as I said, unique in any religion, has a sociological aspect as well. It combines the society. When you are standing together, irrespective of your caste, color, creed, religion, because Sikh religion is open, anybody can go in a Gurdwara, and you stand and partake in that. You are one with the Sangat, the people praying, and one with God. As a matter of fact, I said earlier, there's a cry of the soul, as my wife put it. And this cry of the soul, the soul is something which is a part of the consciousness which pervades the whole universe. And that cry of the soul becomes the cry of the cosmos. Therefore, it cannot be ignored. The power of Ardas has been such that all the actions taken by the Sikhs start with Ardas. And that's why they say, we have taken the Ardas, we cannot go back. Because we sought the blessings and the guidance of the Almighty before initiating the process. Now, how can we go back on that? That will be a breach of contract. And that is why you would find that the Sikhs, whenever they fought, protested, and the war, they performed their Ardas before going on a war. It enthuses them, empowers them, strengthens their resolve, and they become victorious. The Battle of Saragari, which is a historic feat of bravery of a few hundred Sikhs defeating 20,000 enemy, is an example par excellence, and then that was the power of Ardas. And politically also, because in Sikhism, politics and religion are closely related. They do not ignore the power of Ardas, and before undertaking any political mission, whether it's a protest, whether it's a march or a long-term project, they take up the Ardas and then start, unmindful of the consequences thereof. So this concept of Ardas, as I said, unique to Sikhism, is something which strengthens their mind, purifies it, and gives any task a divine approval. And human beings, when they think they are divinely imbued to undertake it, then the temporal laws have no meaning. The recent protests of the farmers show the power of combined Ardas. The Punjabi Subha movement, and before that, Singh Sabha Lehra incident in 1925. They laid themselves below before the trains, and the trains ran over them. And they got killed, but they didn't care, because they had been imbued with the power of Ardas. As a matter of fact, it has been rarely, or rather I would say never misused. Though sometimes political reasons, but as I said, the concept of miri piri, the combination of the temporal and the secular, comes here very clearly, that any task, whether it's a business, as I said, whether it's building a house, or purchasing a new house, starting a business, going on a journey, coming back from the journey, starting the education, completing the education, having a marriage ceremony, having a child, going on a war, or starting a political fight, all that is initiated by Ardas and ends by Ardas. In between, whatever happens is humans cry, strengthened by the belief in divinity, the power of human being reinforced by the help of God. And that imbues the Sikhs and the Sikh community with a sense of being elevated spiritually, and consequently elevated morally and physically. So this concept, derived from the Persian, strengthened by belief, continuously evolving, is a hallmark of Sikhism, and its importance can never be reduced in any respect. Think about it. Thank you.